Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
And the budget will balance itself.
Do I have to sue CNN?
Legacy doesn't mean nothing. I'm gonna die and it's gonna be over.
Welcome everybody to her GDS Takes. With Trudeau's era of mass migration increasing immigration from 300,000 new residents a year to nearly 1.3 million for years now, an environment has been created in multiple industries for opportunists to skirt Canadian laws and regulations in numerous industries for their own financial gain. A case in point is our trucking industry. A large part of the industry in Canada is now comprised of immigrants directly from the state of Punjab in India. What makes the lowering of standards in our trucking industry of particular concern and deadly serious is that a negligent truck driver has the potential to kill numerous people with his semi-truck. As well, truckers with a criminal mindset have the ability to transport tons of powerful illegal drugs that have the potential to negatively impact the lives of millions of people. The Punjabis from Punjab demonstrate time and again they could care less about Canadian or American society and that they are in it strictly for themselves, as we will soon see. Here's a clip from the CBC showing how easily driver training requirements are being bypassed today.
Driving school in North Toronto. We have an appointment to buy a BDE certificate for $220 with no lessons whatsoever.
Hi. Have an appointment here?
Seems like a bargain, but we say we're concerned about forms they want us to sign.
This is like school paperwork.
Okay.
Because in order to get a certificate, you need to complete a school course.
Okay.
But since you're not actually completing a school course, you just need to fill out all the paperwork as if you did.
She then lays out exactly how this scheme works.
Okay. And how the ministry and the insurance will...
We submit it to the ministry directly.
And I will collect that from...
Service and
And that I will use for the insurance.
In our first case, reported in the Surrey Now Leader, we have the case of Raj Kumar Memi, 60 years old, who smuggled 80 kilograms of cocaine across the border into BC. He was arrested for this crime in November 2017, but for some reason not found guilty until nearly 5 years later in September 2022. Of course, the ever-stupid Canadian justice system released him soon after his arrest, and he proceeded to board a flight for India the very next month. Didn't see that one coming. You think a 60-year-old immigrant who's facing 10 plus years in prison wouldn't simply return to his home country if you let him out? Of course he would. It's either that or sit in jail until he's in his 70s. So, a year after that, in November 2023, he was finally sentenced to 15 years in prison in absentia. The stupidest part of this story is that the police did seize his passport when he was arrested, but when he was released, he simply filled out the paperwork for a new passport, which he was granted and used to leave the country. Incompetent government at its finest. In our second case from CTV News, on February 5th of this year, Gagandeep Singh was caught by U.S. Customs and Border Protection at the Ambassador Bridge in Detroit. What an ambassador our pal Gags turned out to be, eh? The report points out that Gagandeep is an Indian citizen with Canadian residency. I think it's safe to say a lot of these drug smugglers are. So a special agent for Homeland Security says one of their canines identified the odor of controlled substances after officers found 13 cardboard boxes sealed with duct tape in the transport trailer, which weighed up to about 290 kilograms, and this tested positive for cocaine. Special Agent Jeffrey Richardson puts the worth of the bust at $8.7 million, and Singh made his first court appearance in Detroit at February 7. I think it's safe to say his long-term visa to stay in America is going to be approved whether he wants it or not. In our third case from The Observer, Harvinder Singh, a Toronto area truck driver, which I guess means Brampton, was sentenced to 11 years in prison for smuggling $3.5 million of cocaine via the Blue Water Bridge into Sarnia. So on March 31, 2021, this fucker was arrested after CBSA officers found 2 suitcases containing 62 kilograms of cocaine while inspecting his tractor trailer. Superior Court Justice Kirk Monroe sentenced him to 11 years in prison for importing and another 9 years for trafficking, to be run concurrently and not consecutively. Lucky for him. The judge pointed out Singh's crime was planned, not impulsive, and as a career drug trafficker, he intended to make money off the ills and misfortune of others. Singh listened to the judge's reasons via an interpreter. His defense lawyer, Gurpreet Dhaliwal, said his client will likely be deported after serving his sentence and asked the judge to recommend early deportation. Judge Monroe declined those, saying it would lessen the deterrent effect on others attempting the same crime. Justice Kirk Monroe is the type of judge this country needs more and more of. Good on him.
In Sarnia today, the trial resumed for a man accused of smuggling $3.5 million worth of cocaine across the Canadian border. CTV's Jen Bassa has the latest.
The trial of Harvinder Singh began last week with the Crown prosecution making its case using testimony from police officers and border security agents. Today, they began the defense phase for the trial, with Singh taking the witness stand in his own defense. In March of 2021, the truck driver was crossing over the border back into Canada when border agents found 62 kilograms of cocaine during a search at the Blue Water Bridge, a street value of $3.5 million. The RCMP charged him with importing a controlled substance and possession of a controlled drug for the purpose of trafficking.
In our last two smuggling cases, the Singhs do not disappoint. In December of last year, Manpreet Singh, 27, was arrested on the Canadian side of the twin-span bridge connecting Michigan and the Sarnia area and charged with importing cocaine and possessing for trafficking. He had boxes of 52 kilograms of cocaine in it with a value of $1.3 million. And in September of 2021, Subeg Singh, 30 years old, was stopped at the Ambassador Bridge by Customs and Border Protection officers where they found more than 50 kilograms of cocaine in his trailer. The Singh was convicted by a federal jury on charges of possessing with the intent to distribute over 50 kilograms of cocaine and was facing a mandatory sentence of 10 years. Another case of an extended American visa, whether he wants it or not. Now, when the Singhs aren't trying to pump Canada or America full with huge quantities of hardcore drugs, they're causing havoc on our roads. Let's look at the curious case of one Navjeet Singh, a literal Jeet. In November of this year, the 25-year-old of Brampton has been charged with 2 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing death. This porky pig-looking motherfucker failed to stop at an intersection and killed a young mother and her daughter inside their SUV. He was idiotically released by our Einsteins in the justice system with a promise to stay in town, and obviously instead of facing justice, he simply fled back to India. Here's the clip.
One of the last places RCMP say they saw Navjeet Singh was in hospital after the collision. They'd made plans to meet on Wednesday, but they haven't been able to reach him. Sergeant Paul Maneg says Singh was expected to stay with someone in Winnipeg, but they say he's been missing from there too.
I guess the last thing he was told is he was going to be seeking the advice of a lawyer, but couldn't reach him on cell phone and had no idea where he went. And with really no other ties to Winnipeg, we believe it's safe to say is he left the city.
Singh is charged with 2 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing death. He's accused of crashing into an SUV at the intersection of highways 201 and 306 last Friday.
And that's not the only case this year of a death caused by negligent driving from a Brampton Singh.
Causing a fatal crash in Moortown faces a judge today. Our Ike David was in court this afternoon and joins us live now from the newsroom with the details. Ike, what can you tell us?
Satnam Singh of Canada faces a lone charge of a gross negligent operation with death resulting after police say his driving led to a fatal crash. Vermont State Police say the crash happened Thursday on Route 100 in Moortown just before 7 a.m. Court paperwork says multiple witnesses saw 24-year-old Satnam Singh driving his tractor-trailer truck all over the road. They say he never slowed down before taking a corner on Route 100, where police say he crossed the center line and he hit 39-year-old Rosetta Weber of Waitsfield head-on, killing her. Appearing virtually and needing a translator, 24-year-old Singh pleaded not guilty Friday afternoon. Court paperwork says Singh was delivering mulch and started his shift in Canada at midnight. He says he had 10 hours of sleep, and drug recognition experts say he was not under the influence. Bail was set at $150,000 to ensure that he wouldn't flee the state or the country. Singh lives in Ontario with his wife.
So what's the solution to this atrocious Singh liability that our federal government and especially the government of Ontario have allowed to form, grow, and flourish? Fortunately, I, Hergidius, have formulated the perfect 3-step plan to right the Singhs. Right off the bat is the huge language barrier. Many times when these things get busted for delivering the glowing white powder or turning people into speed bumps on the road, they require an interpreter in court. The English language skills are absolutely pathetic. It should be mandated that in order to obtain a Class 1's driver's license, the applicant must be able to prove a full year's worth of intensive and comprehensive English language study by approved government providers and be tested at a third-party center by an independent government bureaucrat. The testing must show that the applicant without doubt is fully competent in reading, writing, listening, and speaking in English. Fluency does not have to be the goal, but a high-level competency should be. This requirement should be obvious, as learning materials are in English, our driving laws and regulations are in English, and all communication with driving authorities are in English. Being defunct in English means the ability for these drivers to learn and improve is severely impaired. Solution number 2 is the driver training. As was reported earlier, the driving training and requirements have been turned into a sham. The provincial governments must directly approve the schools themselves and verify that they have the facilities and programs in place to meet the expected standard. They should also pay for fake learners to attend these schools and report how they operate directly back to the government. Those schools who do not comply should be shut down with the owners banned from the industry. Also, drivers should be retested to a high standard every 2 years to remain licensed, meaning if they fail a test after their initial test, their license is suspended. Anyone can manage to pass a test once, but this semi-truck driving profession is dangerous and the ability of the driver should be reassessed on a regular basis. Solution number 3 is financial reporting. All Class 1 drivers must automatically have their income and assets assessed every single year by the CRA to see what they own and how they live is in accord with their primary income. I mean, a truck driver who just bought 2 Mercedes and had a swimming pool put in during the last year should be a cause for concern. Also, the debt level of each driver should be assessed. If the driver carries a significant debt, his application for a Class 1 license should be rejected until the time that he is debt-free. The purpose of this is simply the logic that if someone is not in dire financial straits, then he will be less likely to take part in criminal activity as he'll have less need for the money. Also, if a trucker later takes on excessive debt or payments, his license should also be suspended. I think this 3-point plan would go a long way to minimizing the damage caused by SINGs on the road and the illegal cross-border activity. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Breaking news, this just in, it looks like another SING has been caught driving his semi-truck under the influence of alcohol in Coquitlam. He just crashed into 4 cars, causing immense damage. Fortunately, it looks like no civilians or other people were injured at this time. From the footage that's released, he looks totally wasted, so there are no other details at this time. I'll just roll the clip here on the way out. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.
Shocking video shows a semi-truck driver struggling to stay on his feet after being pulled over by police.
The evidence pointed very clearly for us towards impaired driving.
It happened Monday afternoon. Police received a call of an erratic driver on the Maryhill bypass who struck multiple parked cars. Fortunately, no one was hurt.
Just look at the damage that happened with 4 parked cars. It doesn't take a huge leap in imagination to see that happening to people or pedestrians on the road.
Police conducted a breathalyzer and are recommending charges related to impaired driving.
Our investigators went straight to criminal code. That's as serious as it can possibly be for a driver.
The driver worked for JMG Carrier Limited. The company denied our request for an on-camera interview, but did provide a statement saying it's cooperating with police and that they're conducting their own investigation. A spokesperson telling CTV News, upon learning of the allegations, we immediately terminated the driver's employment and are fully cooperating with the authorities. At the time of his employment and recent return to work, all necessary checks, including criminal record interviews, driving abstracts, and drug tests, were completed and returned clear. The 42-year-old received a 90-day driving ban. One criminal lawyer tells CTV News punishments could range from driving bans to fines and even possible jail time.
If a person is convicted of impaired driving or a number of different impaired driving related offenses, including driving with a blood alcohol concentration over the legal limits, then they will end up with a criminal conviction. So there will be a criminal record.
According to ICBC, 21% of fatal car crashes involve an impaired driver, resulting in more than 60 deaths per year in BC. The driver's court date is set for March 12th. Kevin Chirac, CTV News.